what blood pressure cuff should anybody buy? So in this scene right here, I just wanted to talk about what exactly is going on. Here you have the Incredible Hulk. He's coming on, into being himself. And the question is as a vascular neurologist, we always wonder who's going to have a stroke. And so this guy, if he did that, is this guy going to have a stroke? What is his blood pressure? And what blood pressure cuff should he buy at this point is really the question. And if you take a look at his face right now, I would believe that he'd probably be around 200 as he sees a green monster. Now, in addition to that, if you take a look at the Incredible Hulk, we're going to go back here because this is really important here to find out, is that if you have a blood pressure cuff, it's important. Do you see that? Do you hear that sound? It's important that your blood pressure cuff doesn't do that thing where it comes off while you have it on, because then it's really that you're not going to absolutely be able to get the right measurement on your blood pressure cuff. So we're going to go back into this again, but I'm going to go back to something that's less as important, is finding blood pressure cuff and my strategy for finding blood pressure cuffs and finding which one would be the best. So I wouldn't just go to Amazon and you go to Amazon. Amazon.com and you go to blood pressure cuffs. And so I'm not putting in a plug for any of these blood pressure cuffs, but what I am doing is I'm trying to figure out how I research this, because you go blood pressure monitor and you figure out, okay, here's all the blood pressure monitors, and you have all these different brands that take place: Unicor, Sinocare, Paramed. And then what I do is I try to go and figure out all these validation instruments. And if you go to PubMed, if you just go to PubMed, you go to Google, go to PubMed. I'm assuming that you know how to do that. You can check out these papers, and here's validation of the Omron HEM 7201 upper blood pressure monitor cuff. And you take a look at this and you say, okay, a few studies have been conducted in blood pressure monitors and their use at high altitudes. So, I grew up in Colorado, so that would be a kind of high altitude place. Or say you're in India and you're in Nepal. Dr. Acharya Ratnaprabhu, he's in Nepal, and so he would need a good blood pressure cuff. And this study was done in China. Maybe it's around somewhere close to Nepal where I did this. And if you take a look at the device that they have here, this is the Omron that you look at. And one of the things that I'm noticing, especially when I see my patients on a daily basis and my in-person patients, is that you have to hold the blood pressure cuff directly at the heart. And that's really important, is that the actual machine, while the patient is sitting there, actually should be done right at the heart or at the table level. And that actually changes the value quite a bit. So when you do this each time, it's important. Now, they did these readings, and of course, the readings showed that they have this Omron HEM 7201 automatic digital blood pressure monitor was able to meet all of these ESH IP2 validation criteria, close to a mile above sea level in Tibet and Lhasa, Tibet. So passing the validation for both systolic blood pressure and diastolic blood pressure. So let's go to where Lhasa, Tibet is, because I don't know where that is, but it must be some elevated place, Lhasa, Tibet. And we're just going to look up, let's look up if how high it is. It's in the Changwon district. It sounds like it's up in the mountains here, and it's basically it's high. All right, so it's high up there. Great. So we know that this blood pressure cuff works there. So how else would I research which blood pressure cuff should I buy? I would go back to this PubMed and I would take a look at the other articles, and I would say, okay, a single pieced, fully air-driven cuff inserted pseudo blood pressure generator for on-site pre-screening, recent research developing trends of wearable sensors for detecting blood pressure, and validation of 2 automatic blood pressure monitors with the ability to transfer data via Bluetooth. Oh, that's kind of interesting. If I had a blood pressure monitor, I would want to be able to transfer Bluetooth to my iPhone to be able to do this. This article is in the Journal of Medicine the Journal of Medical Internet Research. And so these guys are saying that, look, here's the abstract. Patients with chronic diseases are in need of regular health controls. The aim of the study is to validate 2 commercial available BP monitors. A total of 181 participants with type 2 diabetes were recruited in Stockholm, Sweden. And blood pressure was first measured using a manual BP monitor and then measured using 2 automatic BP monitors. In total, 180 participants, 119 men, 61 women are included. And they're finding that these blood pressure measurements are significantly correlated with a p-value of less than 0.001. And what are these blood pressure monitors that they have? These are the Anderson's LifeSense BDR 2.0 and the Burr BM. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this. Oh, sounds like these are good blood pressure monitors. I like the whole thought process of the Bluetooth monitor. Let's see if this is available on Amazon. I have not even checked this before, but this is exactly how I go about checking blood pressure monitor as a vascular neurologist. I'm sure nephrologists are even better than this because they love blood pressure. And let's see, but we're going to get back to the most important part of this, and I'm not seeing anything like that. Let's go to good old Google and let's figure out how I can get this blood pressure monitor. Let's get the Anderson LifeSense BDR blood pressure monitor, MedVal. Okay, good. So we have the medval.ie, and this is where it's associated, and this is where I'd be able to get this is from sort of MedVal and see if I can order this one. So I'm probably not going to go into figuring out where I can buy this from because that's a whole nother video. But we have to get back to the most important part of this, which is the Incredible Hulk. So now, if you talk about blood pressure and blood pressure monitors, we talked about how to go about finding the best blood pressure monitor, and then exactly what happens. And the problem that I have with this situation here is, do you see those arms right here? They're huge. So if you were to have arms that are this big, you have to make sure that on your blood pressure cuff, it can actually fit around that arm. Right there. And so that's really the most important part to remember, is that if you have guns like that, you got to make sure that it'll actually fit. And that's really key. So when you go back to these blood pressure cuffs, you take a look. Blood pressure machine, and then you look at the cuff and make sure that the cuff size. So we have the Omron. This is one of the later values right here. And do you see how this blood pressure cuff is always behind the actual machine? You notice they always want to show, oh, look at that nice display, but where the money is at is that cuff. So you got to make sure that you have to have a good cuff there. And the monitor gives fast, put the monitor, glucose check monitor, but where is the cuff? So make sure that it fits, because say you have, let's go back to this wonderful movie. And if you go back, and we're going to go find some, oh, there you go. This lady, hold on one second. So his blood pressure is probably pretty high, at least 220, it's just hemorrhage range. And if you take a look here, let's see, right here, I think there's this lady that he's going to go try to save, to get around. And let's see, right here. Okay, so there's the lady, and look at her arm. Her arm size may not be so high, so big. She doesn't have really the biggest guns, but she is a lady, and so she would not want to use the same blood pressure cuff that this gentleman would use with that. Okay, so that's basically the point, because you're not going to get an accurate reading. All right, so that is how to check out your blood pressure monitor and the cuffs. And I still have to find the blood pressure cuff for the Incredible Hulk.